A lot has happened in bass fishing in a really short amount of time. It seemed like overnight, like we could almost predict which one of our favorite heroes, which one of our favorite fishermen could win any tournament. And we knew exactly what bait that those fishermen would win that tournament on. And then in the blink of an eye, boom, fishing as we know it vanished. It all disappeared in the flash of an eye. Young anglers became younger. The addition of middle school, high school, college fishing, that seemed to groom these kids for the future of the sport at an earlier and earlier age. And new techniques surfaced. We saw new faces come across the stage, and new faces held the big trophies and the big checks. We all know what technology did. Sweeping advances in technology seemed to erase fishing as we knew it from our dad. That right there left a lot of us wondering, is this good or is it bad? Are we helping the sport of fishing or are we hurting it? I think if we're being honest, we're really just sad that the old school ways of fishing with a simple worm, a crankbait, or just a Texas rig, I think we're scared that those days are gone and they'll never come back again. We'll never be able to win a tournament. We'll never be able to catch a fish the way that we learned how to do it 40 years ago.
That Carolina rig right there. Look how fat that thing is.
Or is that possibly just false? Is it just our emotions? Do you think it's possible? Is it possible for old baits, old techniques, the strategies that we used to use? Is it still possible to not only catch fish, but win tournaments that way today?
All right, let's get started today. A lot of decisions to make, you know, where we're gonna go, where we're gonna fish, and like I mentioned, there's a lot of options when you come down here to Lake Hartwell. Right now I'm fishing back in the creek. And I mentioned, I think there's probably 3 groups of fish that you can fish for when you come down here. You got these stained water creek fish. It seems like there's becoming less and less of this every year. I don't know why, but there was no universe in years prior and in February, March, that I would not be just spending all of my time fishing stained water, looking for rocks, riprap, you know, that kind of thing. And I know a lot of people will probably say, well, forward facing sonar dominates, this, that, and the other. The problem is the way our lakes are evolving. I don't know, it seems like the herring and the main lake have become more and more of a factor every single year. I mean, this goes back to even, I used to fish for striper a bunch. In the wintertime, it was always my favorite thing to do, and I would striper fish sometimes in the back of the creeks. They would run the bait in the back of the creeks, and you'd find these big schools of striper, hybrids and striper, in the back of the creeks. Where I can't tell you the last time I caught a striper in the back of a creek. I grew up doing that. We'd do what was called free lining. Free lining blueback herring out in the middle of these big bays, and a striper gotta have him, especially in those nasty cold winter days. I don't even see striper back here anymore. But to be honest, it makes a lot of sense. That's a better one there. That's a freaking good one. That's a freaking good one there. He's actually not that big at all. He's not that big at all. God, he got a choke though, bro. Jesus Christ. That sucker got it choked. I actually probably got to get down here to get to this fish, just because I don't really have a big line on. It's not a big fish, but I don't have a big line on either. Just look where he got that bait at. That's a 3.5 pounder though. He's a lot bigger than I thought he was. Definitely a lot bigger than I thought he was. You can't even see the crankbait. Jeez. That one's gonna be hard to get out. You can see he's a pre-spawn fish. I'm gonna show you how fat this fish is. It's a 3.5 pounder or so. Just cranking riprap. That's the kind you'll need to do well in the tournament right there. Let's see if it's, one thing is I don't know if it's a group of fish or if was that just one lucky one. Make another cast. They get on these bridge corners good sometimes. Bridge corners are like one of my favorite things to fish. Like he locked it down, dude. He's rolling it down the side there and it was like, stop. Gotta have it. Let's see. And just catching one is not enough. You need somewhere you can pull up like that and just catch them, 15, 20 casts in a row. And I don't think you can just go down the bank and just catch them cranking. So this is what I think is happening. I've thought about this a lot because it's becoming more and more clear that most of the fish just live on the main lake. So a lot of things that happen over the years. We don't have the wet springs that we used to have. I mean by that, we used to get a lot of rain from, let's say, Christmas until May. It used to rain 2 to 3 days a week, and we still have those periods, but we don't have those washouts like what we used to have. And the reason I think most of the fish live on the main lake, number one, because spotted bass live on the main lake because that's where the most food is. The creeks are too clear for largemouth to survive. And then you don't have striper pushing the food source back into the creek like they used to, which is a very complex subject, but I promise you, striper trigger a lot of things on our lakes. And you don't have that anymore. So just the dynamic ecosystem of the lake has changed. It's not better, it's not worse. I'm not saying, oh my God, our lakes are in trouble. The lake is healthier than it's ever been, but it has evolved. And the way you fish, the way you have to catch fish on this lake now is completely different than it has ever been. So I think those 3, 4, 5 elements that I just mentioned have a lot to do why the fish is the way it's, the way it does now. Fish don't live where they used to live. I'm gonna try slowing down just for a little bit. I've been fishing kind of fast all day, cranking. Saw I cranked some riprap this morning. Even when I was fishing, fishing those docks, even though you're fishing worm, you are kind of fishing somewhat fast. So I haven't really taken the time to fish anything on the bottom yet. Sometimes they do get on that when it's been cold like it is. Get on that bottom deal. So let's just try that and see what happens. Right now I'm throwing a Carolina rig. Throw it in 2 places. I'm gonna throw it in some of these pockets like this, or like the drains. And I'm also gonna throw it some of these little, I call them knobs. They're like little points. Throw it on both of them. Probably I feel like the fish got to be close by. It's not like they're out in the middle of the lake right now. A lot of times they'll just be sitting there, but they're not ready to get up and get close and intimate with you. So they'll just get off, sit out right out here in the middle, sit on these points just out of touch to where your crankbait won't hit them, or just deep enough to where you can't throw a shaky head or something like that. So I'm gonna drag this around in some of these ditches and points and see what happens. And we'll know what the deal is within an hour or two. You'll know whether this is something you need to spend time with, or if it's just a waste. Another one on the Carolina rig. Well, spotted bass that time. I think that's what's going on. These fish are a lot deeper than you think they are. It's so warm, you think they'd be up there real shallow, but they're not real shallow. Damn. Oh shit. That's a good one. Look at that. Nice pre-spawn fish. Look at that. Good Lord, look how fat that thing is. That's a good one. That was a real good fish. Just fishing this is a rounded point coming out here, but they're really deep though. You got it. Spotted bass. Don't want those. That's a good one. That's a big one. I think that's a good one anyway. Let's see. Now, I would have never thought this is the way I'd be fishing this term. That's a good one. This is going to be a big one, y'all. This is the smallest one I caught all day. That's a pretty decent spot though. It's a pretty decent one. I really did think that was going to be a big one. I don't know, how big is that one? Pound and a quarter or so. It's like a bay right there.
It's warming up fast. Pretty decent start to the morning. I really didn't expect to catch any cranking today. It's so flat, calm. We are starting to get a little bit of wind now. Before it gets too windy, I do want to try to skip a few docks just to see if there's any pulling up under these docks. What happens a lot of times is this time of the year, these fish they'll rise up high in the water column and get under some of these floating docks. So before I leave this area, I want to go try that just for 2 or 3 pockets. See what happens. If we get bit, we expand on it. We don't get bit, we move on to something else. But it does look like there's a few fish to be caught in the stained water back up here. I just don't know how many. It seems like there's fewer and fewer fish doing that every year.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Spotted bass. Pretty big spot, actually. It looks like it's pretty straightforward to where you need to fish. You see, this is it's a point leading into a spawning pocket. That's a nice spot.
I'd say that fish is probably 2 3/4. Man, it's a long one. He probably is 3 pounds, more than likely. Look, I'm sliding back in the water. All on this, like on these points leading into the backs of these pockets. It's like they would be up there where you could, a lot of times I catch them casting at these, like, my dad calls them dark lines, like little black spots in the water, algae, leaves, whatever it is, but they're not on that stuff yet. Right now they're just, they're like 10 foot, 12 foot. They're not on the docks. You can catch some fish on docks, but by and large, it's not really that many fish on docks. It's mostly like 8, 10, 12 foot. And to me, there's nothing better to drag down there than old Carolina hoof. Just stays down there on the bottom where they are. Really good. Let's see if I can find some more spots like this. If you can find, say, 4 places to rotate in between like this.
I try something different. Look at that, that's a big old fat pre-spawn fish though. Look how fat that thing is. I'll show y'all what I was doing. It's super old school. Really, really old school. I had a feeling this would play this week, so I was kind of semi-prepared for it. When I'm throwing an old ball and chain with an SMH worm on the back of it. Old Carolina hoo-hoo. The old draggy poo. Dragging it around on some little secondary points because I feel like the fish should beat it where they supposed to be anyway. That was a 3-pounder.
What's this point right here? It seems like anywhere leading into a spawning bay. They're not in the spawning bays. In spawning cove, pocket. You got this, my little point going into there. Almost people lost respect for this, what I'm about to say, but really all this, you don't hear this anymore. Staging area. If you can hear me over the wind. It'll be in it.
Bad one. Not a big one, but it's not a bad one. Not a bad one. Just dragging around on these little secondaries. I don't see the red eyes. Usually a dead giveaway that the spawn is going on when they got that red eye. I don't see a red eye on that one, but it's still a solid keeper. I think that pattern's pretty established. I've got bit
just about everywhere. I bet I could go. I am curious to know if I could get bit like in the back, like down the center of that thing. There's a little knob right there. I call them knobs. I don't know, like that's a point, but it's not really a point, but it's kind of like a little point. That's a big one. That is not a small one. Big old spot, I bet. If he had jumped, it was largemouth, he would have jumped by now. That was a largemouth, he would have jumped by now. It's probably a big spot. I hadn't seen it yet. Pretty good spot. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That. That ain't a small one. That ain't a small one at all. What do you think that thing weighs? What do you think that thing weighs? Jeez. Put this one back. That felt good. That felt really good. I think we got something to work with now.
Starting to get dark. That's it for practice for me. 3 days of Lake Hartwell. Slept in my bed every day this week. Hang out with my kids every day this week after I come off the water. Usually get home, the time just changed, so I do get home kind of late, so they're usually jumping in the bathtub by the time I get there. But it's still nice to end my day with a good night with the kids. I love my fellas that I travel with, but it's a lot better when you get to hang out with them. I feel pretty good about the practice. It started off kind of rough, especially that first couple of days of rain, and then yesterday it started to come together. And today I really feel like I have a lot of options that could potentially work, and I'm anticipating it worked well. What worked well looks like to be a bunch of different things, but I can't say I had a terrible practice. I can't at all.